Hello, 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 everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It was a little tricky with the rainstorm before, so I'm grateful for the rain. I'm grateful it stopped and that you have all been able to join me. I want to thank Hadassah for inviting me to come speak about a topic that is very important to me, which is actively aging. And I'm going to cover 3 areas. I'm going to talk about ageism, I'm going to talk about active aging, and I'm going to talk about living well. There is going to be a little bit of interactivity. One of the things that I do with my wellness practice is I teach qigong. Has anyone here heard of it? It's like Chinese, right, to you? And it is Chinese. Have you heard of Tai Chi? Tai Chi is a form of qigong. We're not going to do that. We're going to do just some small movements just to give you a flavor of it. And if you can stand when we do it, that'll be great. And if you can't, it works for when you're sitting as well. So it's a wonderful thing. So I do want to talk about embracing vitality with aging and aging with honor. The thing that's important, I say to myself sometimes, there's all these things that I want to do. And then I think, okay, if I start now and it takes me 10 years and I'm 70 or 75 or whatever it is, can I do it? Because so many people tell me I'm too old to do something. But the point is that's ageism. And as long as we are living and breathing, regardless of how our health is, because I don't want to minimize that people have challenges with health, mobility, mental health, emotional health, and all that, regardless of that, if we have an idea, if we have a dream, we're never too old to do it. Okay? So the first place we're going to go with this is anti-aging, and what we are being told, that we've been being told, media in all its formats, whether it's commercials, magazines, newspapers, and now the social media that is 24/7, the news that's 24/7, all of that and all its format, it sets a tone. And I thought I was addressing just women, so men, forgive me, but it's kind of for everybody. It sets a tone for what women are supposed to look like, what we're supposed to aspire to, and the same for men. It's telling you all these different products that you need to do, and they have things that are anti-aging. This is what they're telling us, to anti-age. So we have role models and models that we're supposed to emulate through all these different stages of our lives that are giving us messages. And it's really spilled over into the anti-aging campaigns that are flooding us every single day. So as of 2021, just a little factual information here, more than $60 billion has been spent in the industry geared toward fighting the inevitable. 20% of the market share is in the United States alone, right? And we spend gobs of money on all sorts of products, skin products, vitamins, machinery, scales, weights, all sorts of things that are meant to not only anti-age, but to reverse age us. The anti-aging promotions promote a negative message. So when we think of anti-aging, the real things that age us negatively are things like chronic illness, diabetes, heart disease. All of those things are very, very real things that we do need to pay attention to and take care of. The messaging that's being put out there, however, is creating self-loathing, which makes it hard to take care of yourself. You're like, I'm too old. What's the point? Who cares? I'm done. So I'm here to change your mind and help you change your story. So the first thing that we need to do that's really, really important is you need to take a moment and give yourself a hug and thank yourself for bringing yourself to where you are today. Because here you are. So come on, I'm not kidding. Give yourself a hug, all right? Touch is really important. So if there's no one around to hug you, then you hug yourself, okay? And the secret is this. There's 3 inevitable things. We're born, we age, we die. That's just how we were built. And the aging, that happens from the moment we are born. Do we want to spend our lives fighting this inevitable, having all these anti-aging messages, fighting ourselves on this thing, or do we want to embrace it and do it well and do it healthily? Okay, so I'm not suggesting that anyone shouldn't go to their doctor and do what they have to do for their health. I am not suggesting that you should not wear sunscreen, because we want to do those things to protect ourselves so we can age well. Right? So as we age, we need to make adjustments for those points of where we are at different points in our life. Okay? So what I'd like you to do is if you could turn to the person next to you or behind you and just tell me, talk amongst yourselves to talk about what aging well means to you. So just take a couple of minutes. The important thing that we want to do is we want to change the language that we're hearing. So if you can take a look at the slide. So here's what we had before. This is what people have been telling us. That's the anti-aging verbiage that we want to change. And here's more aging well language. When we change our story, stories have words, and we tell ourselves stories every day. So to do that, we have to change the words. Doesn't matter our age. You know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was in the Supreme Court for a long, long time and had the mental capacity to do that. Okay? So these are all the things that we want to bring back. When you think about blue zones, has anyone heard of the blue zones? Okay, the blue zones are different geographic areas where they're noticing people are living well into their hundreds, and that they're living very healthy, they're living very well, they're moving, they're squatting, they're sitting, they're going on walks that are up and down hills, up and down stairs. The number one thing that they found, that there were different things that contributed to it, but the number 1 and 2 things that they found that were in common with these blue zones was purpose, living your purpose, having meaning in your life, and community. And that's been mentioned here. And we have a very vital community here in this audience. So we want to change the vocabulary. An example of that is, has everyone here heard of Ellen DeGeneres? Okay. So she has a new skincare line. It's probably a few years old now. So if you've noticed, a lot of the skincare products, whether they're for men or women, they all say anti-aging, which makes you right away think, this is bad for me, I can't age. Her product is called Aging Positively. So we still need cream, we still need good nutrition, we still need nourishment, body, soul, mind, all of that. But it's how we are being, how the products are being positioned for our well-being. Jane Cunningham, who's the founder of British Beauty Blogger, says treating age as something that needs curing is pointlessly demoralizing for anyone over 30. right? And we're all different. Like, I am hard of hearing, but I've been hard of hearing since my 30s because I rode the subways and went to loud music concerts, right? So there's reasons that these things happen. It's not just age, it's use, how we use these things. So we want to embrace aging, and we want to do this in a healthy way. So what I look at is we each have a reason for being on the earth. Some of us haven't maybe figured it out yet, but we're still living and breathing, and we can. And we've been given this body. So I look at it as our mishkan, or our ark. And it carries our soul, which helps us live our purpose, right? So if we, there's a blessing that we say in the morning about, our cavities and our tubes and all these things being open, excuse me, and that we're grateful for that so that we can continue to serve our purpose. So that is what aging well is taking care of this body, that's our ark, so that our soul can live its purpose. So that's one of the takeaways that I want you to consider today. So as we've changed, we've accumulated experiences that inform us, and that our outlook, our desires, all of those things, what we wanted when we were 20 may or may not be the same as when we're in our 60s or 70s. That's not a product of aging necessarily. It's a product of living and experience and exposure of, oh, I thought I wanted that, but this seems to be more my heart, more my values. So embracing that. And our bodies change as we age, and depending on how we have taken care of them at different junctures, they change. Some have more challenges than others. You were in a terrible accident, right? And now you're dealing with that. But you're not saying I'm going to stop living. You're just going to approach it in a different way. So the statement of, ugh, I've gotten older, my body's turning on me. We might feel that way sometimes, but then we change the words and go, okay, what does my body need now to support my meaning and purpose to feed my soul? That's what we want to do. We want to reestablish our mind, body, soul connection with where we are now. It's going to be different for each of us, the opportunities and things that we can't do. We can line up quite a few 65-year-olds in the room, and they're all going to be different. Same with 80, same with 90. It's all going to be different. So it's just, where am I now? What do I need? This is what I want to do. We are all lucky to be able to age. I'm a twin. I lost my twin sister when she was 54 years old. She did not get to age. I'm seeing more and more young people in their 50s and 60s, close to me or not at all, who don't get to age. And so that's why I'm so passionate about, while we can't fight everything. We don't know everything that's going to happen to us. There's many surprises that are offered to us, and when our time is our time, it's our time. But while we are aging, I'm here to hopefully help you think about these things and change your mind about the negative messages that we're getting and turn them into positive messages. So like what you said, Larry, it's like, okay, I can't travel on my own, and I don't have a partner, my children aren't interested. So I wonder if there's somebody out there who wants to do that with you, a lucky aid. But in the meantime, you are stimulating your brain and finding a different way to bring some joy and meaning, right? Right. I'm going to shift us. We've talked about the messaging, and now I just want to move into aging well. We've touched upon it, but generally when we think about health and wellness, we think about eating and movement And I want to just talk to you about two kinds of nourishment. There's primary foods and secondary foods. So primary foods are foods that nourish your soul. And it's important to have foods that nourish your soul, whether it's reading or, a new way of traveling, or anything that brings you meaning, the volunteering that you're doing, whatever it is that you can do that excites you to get up in the morning and go, okay, I want to take care of myself, and having what's called, an inner motivation or intrinsic motivation, as opposed to somebody on the outside going, you should do this. That's much harder to follow. Doctors have the hardest time getting patients to comply because the doctors are just telling them, you need to do this, but they're not finding their inner reason for it to matter. So find inner reason, inner purpose, things that bring you joy, and touch upon those things every day. It might be 5 minutes, it might be a day, whatever it is. If you can touch those things, something that brings you joy, makes you laugh, that is really, really important for being able to live well. Part of that is connection. Being able to connect with other people is really important. Even those of us who feel more shy or feel more like loners, that connection is really important. So this brings me to the secondary foods, which are what we eat. And what we eat is important. The challenge is if you've been eating a certain way that hasn't necessarily been nourishing your body the best way that it can, and then you're like, I'm going to change everything all at once, that's going to be overwhelming, and that's not going to work either. So find an area of your eating that you want to improve. Do one thing. Try that thing. See what works, see what doesn't work, make adjustments. And once that thing becomes a habit, then move on to the next thing. And when we think about that, most people, when they think about eating healthy, they think about, what am I going to cut out? And that feels very punitive. So rather than think about what you're going to cut out, think about what you're going to crowd out by what you're going to bring in. So maybe you feel you don't drink enough water, and water doesn't really taste great to you. So think about ways you can hydrate, like lemon water or herbal teas, or some other healthier drinks that are hydrating. Or maybe you want to eat more greens. Or maybe you feel like, I'm cooking for one, and that's not really exciting. I don't really feel like doing that. So you can now bridge nourishing the soul and nourishing the body by finding a few friends that you get together with once a week, let's say, and cooking several meals together that you then share one of those meals, and then you each package up stuff, and now you're taking home leftovers that you can eat the rest of the week that are healthy. But now you have done connectivity and cooking healthy, and you're sharing it, and you're giving something to somebody else. So that's some of the ways that we can think about our primary and secondary foods. And then there's movement. I like to call it movement because when you say exercise, people automatically are like, I've got to go to the gym, I've got to do all these things, I've got to lift weights, I've got to sweat, I've got to run in place. You don't want to do that, right? So the thing about movement is part of being able to live well is to move. You have to move. The more sedentary we become, and there's things that kind of get in the way that make it hard not to be sedentary, I recognize that, but the more we move and the more you find the movement that you like, the better it's going to be. So the CDC says that we should be moving or exercising 150 minutes a week. That's like 30 minutes a day. That sounds very daunting right now if you haven't been moving or exercising, right? Right? So you want to start off small and see what works for you. It might be putting on a song and dancing to it. Even if you're sitting in a chair and moving your body and lifting your feet off the floor and stomping them down is movement. It's getting circulation going. So that's important. It might be a walk around the block. It might be swimming and running. It might be those things, but if you haven't been doing them in a long time, you want to start slowly. So you might want to say 10 minutes a day or 10 minutes one day and see what that feels like. You might want to try out different things on different days, but moving is your friend. Whatever kind of movement moves you, that's your friend. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have us do a little bit of this qigong that I told you about. And for those of you who are okay standing, then stand. And for those of you who need to sit, sit. That's okay. And if anyone wants to, I'm going to do this. You can take your shoes off. I'm big on being barefoot. So if you're in heels and you don't want to do this in heels, you don't have to. See, I've got my bare feet. All right. So first we're going to just loosen up the joints, right? So we're going to put our hands together and you're just going to circle. I'm just going to do slow, 1, 2, 3. And then now the other way. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to put our hands out into a T. Don't hit anybody. And we're going to bend at the elbows. Because you know what? Your elbows have joints. And a lot of people's elbows hurt. So you put them out this way. And now bend down and flipping the other way. And now we're going to put our hands on our kidneys. So they're right back here. The warmth of your hands is on the kidneys. I'm doing an abbreviated version just to cover many areas. And now you're just going to do waist circles. If you're sitting in a chair, you just bend forward, bend to the side, bend back, come away from the back of the chair so that you can move. And now go the other way. I see you back there, Sheila. Okay, so we're going to put our legs together for those who can. And if you need to sit at any point, you sit together. You sit. And we're going to put our hands on our knees. And you're going to look out, because looking out helps you balance. Okay, and you're going to just do circles. And these move your knees, but they also are moving your hips. And now we're going to go the other way. There you go. Okay, stand up. We're going to put our foot, the ball of our foot, on the floor, and we're going to twist, turn the ankles, let the ankle rotate. And now go the other way. And now put that foot down and do the same thing with the other foot. On the ball of the foot, like you're smushing a bug. And now turn it the other way. So what these rotations are doing is they're loosening up the joint fluid. So for joints to be less achy and inflamed, they need movement. So moving them helps the joint fluids that you want lubricate and let you move. When we're doing the foot one, not only is it helping the ankles, but there's a lot of nerves on the bottom of your feet, and so that movement is helping stimulate those nerves as well. So now we're going to put our hands on our hips, just loosely laying right on that hip bone, and the elbows out, exactly. So it's like a straight line. And you're going to bend your head down, and you're going to bend your head up. I'm doing it this way for now, just in case there's any balance challenges. But we're loosening the vertebrae in our neck, because those are all joints. No one thinks about that. And put your head back to straight, and now look over your left shoulder, and look over your right shoulder. Look over your left shoulder, look over your right shoulder. One more time, left shoulder, right shoulder. Now let your hands drop, okay? So now, this is a great stress reliever. We are going to lift our shoulders and let them drop. Now, the advanced way of doing this is when you lift your shoulders, come slightly up on your toes, and then let yourself drop. Up and drop. Hold on to the chair. Yeah. And then up and drop. Up and drop. Up and drop. So when we do this, when I do these, I do 100. Why? People talk about weight-bearing exercise, right? So when you're coming up and you're dropping, you're weight-bearing, right? That drop is creating a piezoelectric stimulation for your bones. So it's important. Okay? How's everyone feeling? Shake yourself out. Shake yourself out. Give yourself a hug. I'm big into hugs. All right. So that's just a very touching, the teeny tiny tip of what qigong can do for us. I should get my shoes. We are coming to the end of what I want to share with you. So just to review, we want to rewrite the story on aging to embrace who we are and where we are at this point, because when we can acknowledge that, then we know what we need to feed ourselves in mind, body, and soul so that we can live well, we can find our meaning and purpose with joy. We can touch that every day. And you want to treat your mind. What? Yes, primary and secondary foods. So you want to treat your mind and body well. You want to move every day. You want to do things that bring you joy every day, and eat well with friends. Okay? Thank you.